This is going to be a little bit different of a video because my question is why, when a television show character or a movie character is sexist, violent, rude, obnoxious, mean, they're downright an asshole, man or woman, you know, why in that case, if it's a character in a movie or something like that, it becomes lovable and people adore it and people say, "Oh my God, that's so me," and they latch onto it and they favorite it and they think it's a good thing almost. But if a person is like that in real life, they're seen as harsh, callous, immoral, or wrong. If they're a woman, they're a bitch. If they're a guy, they're a douchebag. Why is this? I mean, not that having a callous or mean personality is necessarily a crime, because it's not. It's fine to make a joke, and if you're making a joke and you're honestly making a joke, it doesn't necessarily mean you think that for real. Like with the sexist jokes and the, misogynistic jokes, it's necessarily not a real opinion. It's a joke, and if somebody gets offended, that's, their prerogative. But I think that in a movie, when that happens, it's understood that it's a joke. But in reality, no one takes it as a joke. And that's kind of weird. Because if you can automatically look at a character in a movie and think, oh, when she said that to him, she was kidding. Or when he said that to someone, to her that was kidding. Or, when, you can make it a hypothetical situation in your head. But if it happens to you in real life, you get offended. Or if you are tempted to say something like that in real life, you wouldn't say it because you would offend somebody. I guess when we write things in movies or something, we wish it could be that way. We wish people could take a joke. We wish we could say whatever we were thinking, and the only repercussion would be some strangers out of sight laughing, and the person giving us a dirty look. But I guess it's because we know that in a movie, it's not hurting somebody's feelings, or, it's not personal, it's just, the character. But, I remember seeing a movie that, it might have been a movie and it might have been, a series, it was the Brady Bunch, I think, where one of the characters were having an issue with their appearance, and for that episode, the character had to be insulted. I'm thinking it was a Brady Bunch, I honestly am, but I'm not exactly sure. And anyway, the character, later on in the commentary, the person that played the character said that you begin to get offended because you think if they're sitting there thinking about your appearance enough to come up with an insult that seems believable in the scenario in the film or the show, then you kind of think, wait a minute, is that what they really think about me, or are there people that think that? Because obviously, in some cases, someone's gonna laugh at it, and then later on in the show, it's gonna be an episode about not bullying or not picking on people and things like that. Usually nowadays, but honestly, it's basically that it like if you don't consider people's feelings, then you are basically an asshole. You're that asshole in the movie that for some reason everybody wants to be, but you're the asshole that nobody wants to be in reality. Like the movie, it's one of my favorite movies, and that's not why. It's because it's a good movie. It's The Breakfast Club. Everyone wants to be John Bender in that movie. If you've seen it, if not, go see it, go watch it. Everyone sees that movie and goes, "Oh my God, I'm John Bender." Whether you're a girl or a guy, at one point or another in that movie, you're gonna go, "Oh my God, that's me." I would say something like that, or I wish that I could come up with stuff like that, or basically. But in reality, he was the one that had no. Well, I'm not gonna say he didn't have any friends because they all had their own clique of friends, but like he was the outcast, and he was that way because of other reasons. That's another thing they do in movies. Like the person that's picking on people and saying all these mean things, they're that way because they had a rough exterior or a rough past, and in reality, that could be the case too. But you want to know what it honestly is when people are mean to you? 9 times out of 10, it's a defense mechanism. It's just them not wanting to get hurt. Whether they have been or haven't, they know there's a lot of danger in this world and in this society, and they know that there's a chance of them finding harm or being picked on or being harassed. So they come off as this tough guy or this tough girl in order to keep anything that might think of messing with them away or at bay. And I can honestly say it doesn't always work. I was big and scary in high school, and I'm kind of big and scary now. And it doesn't keep everybody from picking on me, harassing me, or saying mean things to me. It doesn't. You're always gonna have that one person that messes with you and conflicts with you. And there's a difference between honestly differing of opinion with somebody and then jumping on the bandwagon when you see a couple people picking on them. There's a difference between that and also just being mean to them just to be mean to them because you think it's funny. There's a lot of different ways to criticize somebody or be mean to them. There's also a way of being diplomatic about it and saying, you know what, I don't like your choice of clothing, I don't like your choice of hair color, I don't like your choice of music. But it's not hurting me, I don't care. And honestly, I wish that in society we could just realize that no matter what somebody says to us, it doesn't need to change who we are. Like, there's moments when you're in an argument and in the bullying situation, somebody comes at you with an insult and you go at them and they come at you, and eventually you stop thinking of things to say back because you either can't think of anything or you just think, okay, it's going to stop at some point, it has to. But they think oh, you're giving up, you're afraid, you're too stupid to think of anything. But then you think of it later and you're like, oh man, I wish I could have thought of that. But in reality, you should just be thinking, you know what? Depending on what your point was, if you were right and they were wrong and you were trying to prove them wrong and you couldn't think of how to do it, you should just go to bed that night with the satisfaction of knowing I'm right, regardless of what they think, I know I'm right. But if it's something petty, then, which the right and wrong thing can be petty too, because it can be something that doesn't really matter. If it's something petty, just be like, you know what, it's a good thing I couldn't think of that, because if I'd have said it, it would have just set off a chain reaction of more and more things being said. So there's a lot of. The point is, like, we take for granted that from the outside of a situation, when you're not involved, you're gonna laugh or you're gonna just look at it and go, meh. But when you're in the situation, you're like, oh my god, I hope they don't fight, or oh my god, I hope they don't turn it on me, or it's kind of like, and that's why TV does affect us, because we think that we either see that and we go, I'm so glad that isn't me being insulted, or we go, I hope so and so doesn't grow up to act that way, or we go, you know what, I think I'm gonna be that way from now on. It's like the whole TV taught me how to feel, and now real life has no appeal thing, because that's kind of how society is now. Because people are becoming more and more like what they see in the media, and it's kind of depressing because it used to be okay to just be yourself. It used to be okay to wear what you want and say what you want and listen to what you want. But now it's like certain things are popular. Now, generally, that's how it's always been. Like, there's been something that was popular above all else. But if somebody listened to something else, chances are you didn't come in contact with them. So you never fought. You never got. And if you would have, it wasn't such a, like, material things weren't so valued. So if someone differed with what kind of clothing they wore than you back then, you didn't go, oh, you suck because you can't afford these. It wasn't like, or they didn't look at you and go, well, why the fuck do you need pants that cost that much anyways? It wasn't as materialistic, and it wasn't as like people don't grasp reality as much.